You see a photo. I see the moment I almost gave up everything I'd worked for. LeBron said quietly, eyes fixed on the framed picture in front of him, a frozen embrace with his mother, courtside, moments after the final buzzer. To the world, it was love, victory, legacy. But to him, it was something darker, something heavier. That morning, hours before the game, his phone buzzed with a name he hadn't seen in years. Darnell. A voice from Akron. A name tied to things he'd buried. Fights, nights without food, bad deals, secrets they promised would never surface. Yo, Bron, I know it's been years, man, but listen, somebody's talking. They're going to the media. About your mom. About that night. The words came sharp. Cold. Like a knife slowly twisting in old wounds. LeBron didn't say much. Just listened, then hung up. He stared at his reflection in the mirror for a long time after. Not as a basketball icon. Not as a role model. Just as a son, scared, angry, exhausted. The game? He didn't want to play. Not because he was tired. Not because he didn't feel ready. But because his heart was nowhere near the court. His team needed him. Millions watching expected him. But all he could think about was her, Gloria. His mother. The woman who gave everything so he could have something. What if the world turned on her? What if they found out the truth? What if her demons became headlines? He arrived at the arena with his hoodie pulled low, headphones in, drowning out everything. Every high five felt fake. Every cheer felt far away. And still he suited up. The tunnel lights burned his eyes. The noise echoed like thunder. But his mind was numb. Block it out, he whispered to himself. For her. He stepped onto the court not as LeBron James, four-time MVP, king of the league, but as a boy trying to protect the only person who ever protected him. The game was a blur. Reporters called it one of his most locked-in performances. 38 points. 11 rebounds. 7 assists. But they didn't see the real battle. The one behind his eyes. They didn't hear the silent prayers between free throws. Didn't feel the weight in his chest when he glanced at her in the front row, smiling, but barely holding it together. And then, the final buzzer. He didn't go to his teammates. Didn't wave at the cameras. He walked straight to her. Pulled her in. Held her like it was the last safe place in the world. The world saw a hug. He felt survival. His voice cracked as he stared at the photo again. That photo was taken 10 minutes after I decided not to walk away. You don't have to carry me forever, Bron. I'm stronger now. Gloria whispered it softly, slipping her hand into his just moments before tip-off. Her fingers were trembling, but her eyes, they held something unshakable. Something that shook him. He nodded, but didn't speak. Because if he did, he might break. 10 minutes earlier, he was in the locker room, sitting alone, eyes closed, trying to block out the noise. Not from the crowd, but from the inside. The call from Darnell still rang in his head. The photo that was to be taken hadn't even happened yet. But the fear already had. That's when Randy, his close friend, knocked gently and said, "She's here. Your mom. She shouldn't have been there. Not tonight. Not after what happened 2 nights ago." He still remembered walking into her apartment unexpectedly, just to drop off something. The smell hit first. Old whiskey. The look in her eyes confirmed what he didn't want to believe. She had relapsed. Just when he thought they had beaten it. She had promised. She had cried, years ago, and promised him she'd never go back. That night, seeing her barely able to hold a glass, broke something in him. Not anger. Not blame. Just helplessness. He didn't yell. Didn't ask why. He just sat down beside her and whispered, "Please don't let this destroy you. Not now." And now, here she was. 2 days later. Sober-faced, courtside. Like nothing had happened. Like everything was okay. He didn't know if it was courage or guilt that brought her. But he did know this. He still needed her. She was the woman who slept on floors while he dreamt of NBA arenas. The woman who got evicted more times than he could count. Who pawned her wedding ring just to pay for his team's shoes. Who never had a childhood of her own because she spent it trying to protect his. She carried shame for years. Not because she failed him, but because the world told her she wasn't enough. Gloria never said it out loud, but LeBron saw it in the way she smiled too quickly when people complimented her, in the way she held her purse close around wealthier people, in the way she sometimes avoided mirrors. That's why tonight mattered. That's why he played. Not for the cameras, not for records, but for her. Every time he looked at her that game, she smiled. Big, bold, beautiful, even when her eyes shimmered with tears. Even when she looked like she wanted to collapse. Her strength kept him upright. People said LeBron had an elite mindset, unmatched discipline. But they didn't know the secret. He didn't get that from trainers or coaches. He got it from a mother who learned to smile through storms. And that night, as they hugged, the photo capturing their bond forever, he didn't see a relapse. He saw resilience. He's playing like something's eating him alive. The commentator's voice echoed across living rooms and bars that night, but no one really knew how true that was. LeBron didn't hear it, but he felt it. The game had started. Bodies moved fast. The crowd was electric. But he was somewhere else. His mind was still on Gloria, her trembling hand, her promise that she was stronger now. That hug in the tunnel before tip-off, it almost made him break down right there. First quarter. He missed a layup he could have made blindfolded. Second quarter. He passed up an open shot. Twice. Fans were confused. Teammates whispered. The arena buzzed with questions. Cameras caught him sitting alone on the bench during a timeout, whispering to himself, lips moving like a man trapped in prayer. Come on. Come on, Bron. Lock in. Just play. Just play. He wasn't strategizing. He was surviving. Then his phone buzzed. Normally, he never checked it mid-game. But tonight wasn't normal. He glanced down. It was a name he wished had stayed buried. Tone. A text. Just one line. Timsy got the story. They're dropping it tonight. Gloria. The relapse. Everything. His heart sank like an anchor. He leaned forward. Elbows on knees. Head in hands. Not from exhaustion, but from something worse. Panic. Not for himself, but for her. She had trusted him. Shown up. Tried again. And now the world was going to tear her apart, based on whispers and snapshots. They didn't know her story. They wouldn't care. He stood up, pacing behind the bench. Coaches thought he was hyping himself up. But inside, he was at war. The buzzer sounded. Second half. The score was tight. The noise was deafening. But all he could hear was her voice from earlier. You don't have to carry me forever, Bron. And suddenly something shifted. He walked onto that court with a different look. Not anger. Not fire. Focus. Not for the fans. Not for the record. But for her. Third quarter. He dropped 14 points in under 7 minutes. A steal. A dunk. A no-look assist. The crowd erupted. But he didn't smile once. Because this wasn't about the game. It was about reclaiming a moment before the world twisted it. It was about giving his mother, the woman who'd lost so much, one night where she didn't have to hide. By the fourth quarter, the game was theirs. But the real victory had nothing to do with the scoreboard. As the buzzer rang, he didn't throw his arms up. Didn't pound his chest. He walked toward the sideline, where Gloria stood, proud, scared, glowing. He hugged her like the world might burn tomorrow. And when someone asked later what that one meant to him, he answered with a voice calm, but full. I didn't win that game for the fans. I won it so my mother could hold her head high. She said, no matter what happens, hug me like we already made it. So I did. LeBron barely made it past the bench before his eyes locked on her, Gloria, standing at the edge of the court, hands clenched, holding back everything she couldn't say. He didn't walk. He ran to her. The crowd was still roaring. Confetti hadn't even settled. But none of it mattered. He wrapped his arms around her like he never wanted to let go, because a part of him truly didn't. Click. Flash. Click. That's when the photo was taken. The world saw a powerful moment. The superstar son, the proud mother, the tears, the triumph. But the world had no idea what had really just happened. No one knew that 5 minutes earlier, he was ready to announce a break from basketball, ready to vanish from the court, the cameras, everything, to protect her, to protect their story. He had even told Randy, "If this gets out tonight, I'm done." But then Gloria looked him in the eye and said something he never forgot. "Don't give up on the thing you were born to do. Not because of me. Fight for both of us." That hug? It wasn't for the win. It was a promise. She buried her head in his chest and whispered, "You did it. Even with all of it on your back, you still stood up." And he whispered back, "Because you taught me how." The embrace was longer than most post-game hugs. It was tighter, like they were holding each other together with everything they had left. Social media exploded within minutes. Wholesome. Mother-son goals. LeBron's best moment. But the picture didn't capture the pain in Gloria's legs from the shaking, or how her nails dug into his back, not to hold him, but to keep herself from falling apart. It didn't capture the tears she had held in all night. It didn't show LeBron's internal war, one part of him wanting to run from the spotlight, the other realizing he couldn't let pain rewrite his path. It didn't reveal how close this night came to breaking them both. But maybe that was the beauty of it. The photo became a symbol for millions: strength, unity, love. But for LeBron and Gloria, it was a quiet vow. We're still here. That night, he didn't go to the after-party. Didn't do press. He sat in the hotel with her. They didn't talk much. Just held hands. Just breathed. In a world that only saw headlines, they chose silence. That photo hangs on his wall to this day. And whenever someone asks why he kept it framed, he smiles faintly and says, "That wasn't just a hug. That was survival." I see it every day. Not to remember the victory, but the almost. LeBron's voice was soft. Not weak, just real. He sat in a private room. No lights, no crowd. Just him, an interviewer, and the photo. The same photo. The hug. The pain behind the smile. The quiet war no one else saw. It sits framed in his office, right across from where he works out, studies film, signs shoes, signs deals. All the rings, trophies, magazine covers, they're there too. But that picture? That's what he sees first when he walks in, and last when he walks out. Not the dunk. Not the buzzer beater. The hug. People always ask why. He's won championships. Broken records. Had bigger moments. Flashier ones. But this photo, the one where he's holding Gloria after the game, that's the one he calls his most personal. So in that quiet interview, he finally answered, "Because that was the night I almost quit. Not basketball. Not fame. Life. Myself. Everything felt like too much. And that hug, it kept me here." The interviewer sat still. Didn't interrupt. Just listened. LeBron looked down, then smiled gently. He began to talk about Gloria, how that night changed her too. After that game, she checked herself into a rehab center. Quietly. No press. No attention. Just determination. He visited every weekend. No cameras. Just him and her. Talking. Healing. Laughing. And this time it stuck. She's been sober ever since. "I didn't need perfect," he said. "I just needed honest. And she gave me that." He spoke about the silence they shared in that hotel room after the game. How for the first time, neither of them felt like they had to perform. They could just be. He said that night taught him the difference between strength and survival. That strength isn't holding it all in, it's knowing when to let it go. That photo reminds me that sometimes being strong means letting yourself fall apart first. That's what he carries now. Not the stats. Not the legacy. That moment. The almost. The place where everything could have cracked, but didn't. Where a mother stood up for her son. And a son chose to stay. The camera panned slowly, settling on the framed photo behind him. It looked the same, the embrace, the emotion, but now, beneath the glass, something new had been added. A small handwritten note. Faded, but clear. "We made it. Together. Signed, Mom." And for the first time in the entire interview, LeBron's eyes welled up. But he didn't look away. He looked proud. Because sometimes, the most powerful moments aren't about winning. They're about not walking away.